As Aristotle said, anybody can become angry. That is easy, but to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time and for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy. Those people who are opposed to anger are opposed to changing the world for the better. You ask humanity to seek for, and learn, the language of truth, and what do? They kneel and pray, or they sit cross-legged and meditate. WTF, they certainly don't pick up a book on how to reason, or how to perform Fourier mathematics. Jungian feeling types will always cling to an emotional understanding of reality, and an emotional logic. Jungian feeling types are Abrahamists and emotional New Agers who preach love, light and peace. Jungian sensing types will always cling to a sensory understanding of reality, and a sensory logic. Jungian sensing types are scientists, atheists, agnostics, skeptics, nihilists, and autistics. Jungian intuitive types, if they don't combine their intuition with reason, will always cling to a mystical and meditative understanding of reality. Jungian intuitive types are typically drawn to Eastern religion and New Age mysticism, where quantum mechanics collides with consciousness. Only Jungian thinking types, rationalists, can arrive at a truly rational, intelligible explanation of reality that avoids human emotions, the human senses and human mysticism. In essence, you will agree with us if you are rational, and you will oppose us and hate us if you are not. So it goes. That's the nature of the human condition. Are true statements emotional statements, sensing statements, intuitive statements or rational statements? The only things that are eternally, infallibly true are the truths of reason, and those are simply the truths of ontological mathematics. All emotional statements are temporal, contingent, and ever-changing. You can love a person one moment, and hate them the next. No sane person would ever claim that our fickle, unreliable, frequently delusional feelings could ever lead us to the truth. Sadly, the world is full of the insane. All sensory statements are based on the fallible, unreliable, ever-changing human sensory capacities. Like human feelings, they are mired in temporality and contingency, and are wholly entangled with the human condition, and have no validity beyond that. How can you use the human senses to understand the reality that existed prior to the existence of the human senses? As for intuition, this can link us to the truth, but only when it's harnessed to reason. Otherwise, it degenerates into mysticism. We already know who will support us and who will despise us. Rationalists and rational intuitives will come to us. Abrahamists, karmists, New Agers, scientific materialists, empiricists, skeptics, atheists and agnostics will all denounce us. So it goes. We don't care about our enemies. Our mission is to bring together in one group all of the brightest, hardest working, most meritorious, most rational people in the world, in order to create a true age of reason, and second and final enlightenment. The first enlightenment was about empiricism, not rationalism. Science, not mathematics, ruled. Now we need mathematics to rule, and science to be its servant. Only math provides definitive answers. If you don't get that, you are clueless and everything you say about reality is false. So it goes. The human race has always had a will to lies, not a will to truth. It has always rejected the truth, equals mathematics, but that will change, and we shall be the ones who change it. Plato, a great rationalist, gave humanity the allegory of the cave thousands of years ago, yet humanity still prefers the cave to the light. Socrates continues, saying that the freed prisoner would think that the real world was superior to the world he experienced in the cave. He would bless himself for the change, and pity the other prisoners, and would want to bring his fellow cave dwellers out of the cave and into the sunlight. The returning prisoner, whose eyes have become acclimated to the light of the sun, would be blind when he re-enters the cave, just as he was when he was first exposed to the sun. The prisoners, according to Socrates, would infer from the returning man's blindness that the journey out of the cave had harmed him and that they should not undertake a similar journey. Socrates concludes that the prisoners, if they were able, would therefore reach out and kill anyone who attempted to drag them out of the cave. Wikipedia. You love it in the cave. What would you do without the darkness of ignorance that you carry around with you? The truth is not for the likes of you. You are the enlightened, not the enlightened. The light of reason will never illuminate your life. That's your choice. No one ordered you to believe absurd things. No one makes you keep believing. People say that there are many paths to the truth, to enlightenment. Really? Go on then, rationally justify that claim. Does a math question in a school exam have as many right answers as there are students? Or is there only one right answer that all students must arrive at, or get the question wrong? If we give every student's answer the same weight, that is, everyone gets the same mark regardless of whether they actually provide the right answer, then we have told the world that we don't care about rightness, correctness, standards, the truth. We will accept anything as right, which means we accept nothing as right, since we are not in the game of right and wrong at all, but only of acceptance and relativism. People, especially feelings types, hate to be told they are wrong. It makes them feel really bad, but we, as those who care about the truth rather than the fragile feelings of those who are compulsively wrong, aren't here to soft soap those who believe they can choose any old way to enlightenment. They believe that if they pick up some book about some guy who sat under a tree thousands of years ago, or listen to some new age guru blabbering on about quantum mechanics and feelings, or some populist writer telling them to be mindful, which actually seems to involve abandoning your mind entirely, then they will be saved, and know the truth of reality. Oh dear. These people are absolutely deluded, absolutely in denial, absolutely clueless. Reality doesn't have countless right answers. It has exactly one. As in any exam, if you don't get the right answer, you have ipso facto got the wrong answer and you have failed. We have provided you with the means to get the right answer, but, unless you are rational, you will mock everything we say, just as you sneered at your math teachers at school because you hated the idea that math, at which you were totally useless, had any relevance at all to your life. If reality is about math and you are shit at math, you're fucked, aren't you? Rather than try to learn math and thus get the right answer, and pass life's exam, you say, fuck math, it's total garbage. That's the attitude taken by all losers and failures. They want reality to accommodate them rather than accept that they have to accommodate reality. What will you do when Ronnie Real comes calling? Ronnie Real never lies. He always tells it like it is, and he never cares about your feelings. Are you going to lie to Ronnie Real? Are you going to tell him that reality has as many answers as there are people like you, and all of you are right, and none of you are wrong? Tell Ronnie Real whatever you like. He doesn't care what you believe. He gets on with being real, unlike you. Every mother of a Spartan warrior said to her son, come back with your shield, or on it. That is, you must win or die. There can be no retreat. We like that clarity. Feelings types despise clarity. They want everything to be a big soppy mush where everyone is told they are right and no one ever says under any circumstances that you are wrong and you have well and truly fucked up. Feeling types can't bear the pain of failure, so they simply deny that they have failed, and they do that by claiming that everyone is right and there are as many paths to the truth as there are people. Those who are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed, by the masses. Plato. Men on the moon. Was it science or math that landed men on the moon? Remove math from science, and there wouldn't be anything landing anywhere. Science would be reduced to divination. Science's biggest problem is that it's totally reliant on mathematics, yet is clueless about what mathematics is. Science worships experiments, yet mathematics has zero connections with experiments. Talk about a fatal contradiction. However, scientists, as people who despise philosophy, rigorous thinking, don't care about such things. Beauty is truth, truth beauty, Keats. Mathematics is truth, and mathematics is beauty. Beauty equals truth equals math. All things are answered by that equation. The cup is. If you disagree with us, the rational thing to do is to move on and find something you can be positive about. Bizarrely, that's not what happens. People hang around our work for years, bitching about us, creating Facebook pages to bitch about us, and recruiting others to bitch about us too. What sad people, don't they have a life? These people are completely defined by us. They say they reject everything we say, yet they do nothing but obsessively come back to our work. There are countless things to do in life, yet they have chosen to define themselves by opposing us. Why are they so disturbed and troubled by us? Why do they follow us around year after year? Can't they move on with their lives? Have they got nowhere else to go? Surely David Icke is their kind of guy. They are at stage 1 of the Schopenhauer scale. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. The great people of the world are those who can recognize the truth as soon as they encounter it, rather than mocking it. People who have never read this website and never read any of our books ask us to explain the secrets of existence on a Facebook page. Imagine Einstein being asked to use Facebook to convey the general theory of relativity, and to dump all the math because the universe isn't math, or science, and math is really boring. We're going to put in as much effort into doing what these people want as they do to studying our work. That is none at all. We see this website being described as controlled opposition. Controlled by whom? To what end? Well, to whatever conspiracy agenda the people who make this absurd claim are subscribing. The Dunning-Kruger effect is the cognitive bias wherein unskilled individuals suffer from illusory superiority, mistakenly assessing their ability to be much higher than is accurate. This bias is attributed to a metacognitive inability of the unskilled to recognize their ineptitude. Conversely, highly skilled individuals tend to underestimate their relative competence, erroneously assuming that tasks that are easy for them are also easy for others. David Dunning and Justin Kruger of Cornell University have postulated that the effect is the result of internal illusion in the unskilled, and external misperception in the skilled. The miscalibration of the incompetent stems from an error about the self, whereas the miscalibration of the highly competent stems from an error about others. Wikipedia. Our work attracts legions of people manifesting the Dunning-Kruger effect. We get people saying that we are obviously wrong because love is so much more important than math and science. When did love cure cancer, invent the internet, put men on the moon, and allow us to watch morons thousands of miles away on TV? What's love made of? How is it transmitted? Whatever can be said about the virtues of love, no sane person would ever try to address ontology, epistemology and metaphysics by playing love songs. It's literally impossible to reason with someone who thinks that love is the way to explain reality, or that love, rather than reason, is what humanity lacks. Achievement. There are people who achieve things, and there are people who talk about achieving things. On Facebook pages, you can get groups of people who want to achieve something, but then people show up on those pages who just want to bicker, argue, promote their own agenda and beliefs, and soon enough all hope of achieving everything has gone. If you want a Facebook page to accomplish anything, step 1 is to drive out all of those people who have no interest in accomplishing anything and just want to bitch, carp, put others down and big themselves up. If a Facebook page clearly isn't on your wavelength, why are you there, if not to cause trouble, and disrupt it for everyone else? The disruptors always claim to be on the side of free speech. No one is denying them their free speech. They can say whatever they like, on their own Facebook page. They have no right to inflict their opinions on others who have no interest in them. That's tyranny, the opposite of free speech. We have stated our position on this website and in our many books. If you don't like what we say, go and find something you like. Why are you hanging around like a foul odor? Have you got nothing else in your life? Are negativity and sabotage the only things that get it up for you these days? The deathbed test. On your deathbed, will your greatest regret be that you didn't post enough inane, grammatically mangled, badly spelled, incoherent, bitching messages on Facebook? Is your social networking archive going to be the sum and substance of your life? Creativity. Creativity needs different thinking, new thinking, bold thinking, but our culture is all about sameness, conformism, being accepted, fitting in with the crowd, not rocking the boat, not being weird. You must avoid being a freak, an outsider, a loner at all costs. Yet the people most likely to be creative are the freaks, outsiders, loners, nonconformists, radicals, dissenters, renegades, and mavericks. They are exactly the ones who have a different perspective on life, who won't follow the herd, who won't be one of the sheeple. Creativity is hard, and when you have produced your masterpiece, the herd, the sheeple, will sit in judgment of it, and may go to town mocking it. You may be relentlessly trolled. Anyone with anything powerful to say automatically attracts legions of enemies. As Aristotle said, to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. No group in history has been more trolled than the Illuminati, but the Illuminati are also those who have made the boldest claim in history that humans can become God through mathematics, by knowing inside out the language of existence, of nature, of mind and matter. You can master reality only by understanding reality and how it works. The morons will always line up to attack us. What do we care? How can maggots defeat destiny? To save yourself being consumed with hellish regrets on your deathbed, you must achieve, accomplish, create, make something magnificent of your life. Posting silly remarks on social networking sites doesn't cut it. It may make you popular with your peers. Big deal. Is your life to be defined by the regard in which you are held by the herd, the flock, the mob? Meritocracy is about displaying the highest merit, not about being maximally acceptable to the other-directed horde, the lonely crowd, who are forever following the latest fashion, and forever terrified of being unfashionable and rejected. If you can't accept yourself, no one else will ever accept you. You try so hard to win the approval of others because you know it can be lost just like that. Nothing torments you more than that the crowd will turn its back on you, and you will be all alone. We are meritocrats. We aspire to the highest excellence, the highest glory, the highest accomplishments. We want to build new worlds, design new stars, reshape the firmament, solve every problem in the cosmos. You are either for us or against us. It has always been thus. There are no neutrals. Those who don't choose have chosen. Can you create? Do you have the talent? Do you have the character? Do you have the will? Well, then, create. Don't talk about it. Do it. Life is not a spectator sport. Don't post messages on Facebook unless you're advancing a creative cause. Nothing burns up your precious time more than social networking. While you're dreaming of the good life, life passes you by. In the end, all that remains is your social networking archive of pointless comments. Your dreams all died long before. If you don't have a sacred cause, and a total commitment to it, you have nothing. Who runs social networking? Multi-billionaire predatory capitalists who have made all of their dreams come true by making you work for them for free by turning yourselves into capitalist commodities. Facebook without users has zero value. Facebook without comments, pictures and videos has zero value. Who produces the comments, pictures and videos? Mark Zuckerberg. You must be kidding. You do. And then Zuckerberg sells your efforts to the highest bidder, and you get zilch. Way to go. You made yourself a slave and didn't even realize it. There's a sucker born every minute. You are one of them. If you go into a room and can't tell who the sucker is, it's you. Fuck the hood, fuck the crowd, fuck the mob, fuck the sheeple, fuck all those carping, sniping, bitching critics who have never created a single thing. They don't have the talent, they don't have the strength, and they don't have the guts. If you don't have enough talent or will to do something great to create a wonder, then find someone who can and does and offer them your help. Don't waste your life on Facebook. If you are not a genius yourself, you can at least assist those who are geniuses and thereby make your contribution. Yet you need to be humble to acknowledge that someone else is smarter than you are. And where are the humble people these days? They don't exist. The world groans under the weight of narcissists and egoists who think they know it all, yet know nothing at all. The gospel that there are many paths to the truth is that of narcissism and egotism. It allows anyone to preach and pontificate as much as they like, without fear of contradiction. Contradiction relies on objective truth, and if we live in a world of relativism where everyone is right, and you can learn the secrets of the universe just by reading the right guru, how can anyone ever be wrong? Anti-power. Anti-power, laziness, weakness, and mediocrity. Anyone who can do anything has a chance given that so many people are incapable of doing anything at all. Well, other than belly aching on social networking sites. Good and bad. The good news math gives us the answer to everything. The bad news math gives us the answer to everything. If you want the right answer, math is it, but that requires you to be good at math, and math is the least emotional, least sensory, least mystical, least faith-based, least narrative subject on earth, hence the most hated subject on earth. The average person would accept anything other than math as the truth of reality. The lie's so much more attractive than the truth. As Nietzsche said, sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. Funnily enough, most of the people who use that quote are New Age feeling types and mystics living in La La Land. That is, they believe in mindfulness. They believe that meditation, rather than hard work to gain true knowledge, can make you enlightened. Full stop. Some of the people most afraid of having their illusions destroyed are those who claim to most want to hear the truth. Well, here's the truth. The truth is math, and you definitely didn't want to hear that, did you? Math destroys all of your illusions. All beings so far have created something beyond themselves. Do you want to be the ebb of that great tide, and revert back to the beast rather than overcome mankind? What is the ape to a man? A laughingstock, a thing of shame, and just so shall a man be to the Superman, a laughingstock, a thing of shame. You have evolved from worm to man, but much within you is still worm. Once you were apes, yet even now man is more of an ape than any of the apes. Nietzsche. It's time for the dawn of the Superman, the hyperhuman, the Promethean, the Faustian, the coming God. Reason is the tool of the true gods, fear is the tool of the false gods. Reason will set you free. It's time to perfect humanity. Will humanity be perfected through listening to the Buddha, a man who sat under a tree and knew nothing of math and science? Boy, you would really have to hate math and science, and indeed all modern knowledge, to listen to a guy like that. Way to go. You despise evolution and progress, don't you? Let's go back to the Dark Ages, right? Let's all sit under trees. Billions of Muslims revere an illiterate tribesman called Mohammed. Christ, who never wrote a single word, was illiterate too. While it's certainly true that humanity as a whole is as stupid now as it was in the Buddha's day, or Christ's, or Mohammed's, which is why these retards are still believed in today, a small group of enlightened humans has been getting relentlessly smarter and smarter. They are the coming race, the Supermen. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. All change begins with a few people determined to change the world. They are always opposed, frequently persecuted, and often destroyed, but some always make it. Indeed, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Sikhism all made it. Given tiny changes, you might never have heard of any of these. No chance. Middle-class children benefit from a glass floor protecting them from slipping down the social scale in Britain, a report has said. The Social Mobility and Child Poverty Commission said better-off families managed to provide educational and social advantages to stop this slide. It found less able, richer children were 35% more likely to become high earners than brighter, poorer peers. It said wealthier families helped their children accumulate skills valued by the labor market, and they also used social networks to secure internships and employment. The report also highlighted a private school wage premium, where recruitment to high-earning occupations is biased towards those educated in private schools. That meant poorer, but more able children were often blocked from the finite number of top jobs, it added. It said, not only do privately educated children achieve well in examinations and on this basis go on to have highly successful careers, but private school education also bestows a little extra something. Some of the extra is made up of soft skills, for example presentation, conduct in social settings, accent, which have little to do with productivity and a lot to do with what economists refer to as signaling. Commission Chairman Alan Milburn said nobody should criticize parents for doing their best for their children, but it was not right that the less able do better in life than the more able. It has long been recognized that there is a glass ceiling in British society that prevents children with potential progressing to the top. This research reveals there is a glass floor that inhibits social mobility as much as the glass ceiling, he said. It's a social scandal that all too often demography is still destiny in Britain. The government should make its core mission the levelling of the playing field so that every child in the country has an equal opportunity to go as far as their abilities can take them. The report called on the government to seek policies that would compensate children who are deprived of the benefits that children with educated parents receive. Hannah Richardson, BBC News education reporter. If highly educated parents are using their connections to help their children find good jobs, this amounts to opportunity hoarding and results in fewer opportunities available for equally able but less connected children. In this paper we have shown evidence consistent with opportunity hoarding and identified limited downward mobility among advantaged children irrespective of their early cognitive ability. We have discussed ways in which parents act to increase the chance of their children achieving well in their education and succeeding in the labor market, but of course it is not simply what parents do that matter, as certain recruitment practices, some aspects of school systems and processes, and higher education practices have all been shown to exacerbate socio-economic inequalities. Abigail McKnight. The elite families that rule the world are entirely preoccupied with opportunity hoarding, keeping all the best jobs and opportunities for themselves. They create a glass ceiling to prevent new people from arriving at their privilege party. and a glass floor to ensure that no one at their party can ever fall out of their perpetual idol into the abyss below where the people abjectly scratch out their living. Inheritance. Everyone who advocates inheritance is a supporter of the private good over the public good, and is an explicit enemy of meritocracy. They believe that immense advantages and rewards should be given to people who have done exactly zero to earn them, hence have no moral right to them, unless you regard the mere fact of sharing the same bloodline as someone else as the decisive moral criterion of our world. For those obsessed with self-interest of themselves and their family blood is indeed regarded as the highest moral principle. You often hear parents saying they will do anything for their children. Is anyone who makes such a claim moral in any way? Will they trample over the rights, merits and opportunities of others in order to do the best for their own children? And if they are indeed willing to go any lengths, shouldn't it be the state's job, on behalf of all of their victims, to actively stop them? Inheritance is the exact means by which a few elite families control the world dynastically because no government is willing to stop them. Indeed, most of these elite families are actually in government, or manipulating and controlling government. You are the stupidest person on earth if you haven't worked out that the world is run by elite dynastic families for the benefit of elite dynastic families, and that inheritance is the engine of this undemocratic, unmeritocratic, anti-democratic, anti-meritocratic system. In the name of morality, the public good and equal opportunities, inheritance must be abolished. Support 100% inheritance tax, and bring to an end the rule of dynastic elites. The inheritance game. No one merits an inheritance, they don't work for it, they are simply given it. No meritocrat could ever support inheritance. The moment you endorse inheritance, you are supporting the selective transmission of overwhelming financial advantage from rich parents to their heirs. You are supporting dynastic families. You are supporting the privileged elite. You are supporting the old world order. That makes you an enemy of the people. It's the state's job to create a controlled, rational environment, not one based on chance and accident. There is no greater example of chance and accident than the absolute lottery of inheritance. Why should the state allow a few of its citizens to inherit a vast fortune, which they did exactly zero to earn in terms of their own sweat and effort, and the overwhelming majority to inherit little or nothing? The state is not running a casino. We don't live in a national and international Las Vegas, or at least we shouldn't be. The legitimate state must run a just society, fair to all, giving everyone an equal opportunity. There can be absolutely no place for inheritance, so 100% inheritance tax must apply in any society that rejects the lottery of life where the odds are massively against any particular citizen. While a few can't believe their luck, these few have been given the golden ticket, while everyone else gets the dig-up-the-ass ticket. They are well and truly buggered by the elite. George Osborne, Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, said, "The left will never understand this. The wish to pass something on to your children is about the most basic, human and natural aspiration there is." Extreme right-wingers such as Osborne have never understood that virtually no one in the world can pass on a meaningful inheritance to their children. Hence, according to Osborne's ideology, they must consider themselves total failures. Osborne himself is of course the beneficiary of inheritance. If this is such a natural urge as Osborne claims, why don't poor people simply kill the rich, take their money, and give it to their children? Isn't that the inevitable outcome of Osborne's rabid right-wing beliefs? The fundamental urge that all parents ought to have is to pass on a fair, just world to their children, where their talents will take them as high as they deserve to go. That is a meritocratic world rather than a world of privilege and inheritance. No decent person or family would ever support inheritance. No one who supports inheritance can be considered moral or ethical. These are people who will do anything for self-interest. Generational wealth transfer is evil and also unnatural given that nature decrees that the dead can have exactly zero say in the world they have left behind. Generational wealth transfer has no place in a just, civilized meritocracy. What is inheritance? It's insulation against lack of talent. Parents who support inheritance must be terrified that their children are talentless wasters who can't make their own way in the world, and need an inheritance in order to cope, or to gain an unfair advantage. Only the weak and pathetic have to buy advantages, have to rig the game, and handicap others. They are anti-competition and anti-nature. They are too scared to compete on an even playing field. They are terrified of starting from the same line as everyone else because they know they will definitely lose. In a meritocracy, there's downward mobility as well as upward mobility. The rich elites in today's world refuse to be downwardly mobile, and that means they actively stop upward mobility for everyone else. It's either or. It's either you or them. If you rise, they must fall. If they refuse to fall, you can never rise. This is a zero-sum game. Samuel Pepys wrote, God Almighty should lose no time at all in destroying this city, this latter-day Sodom, nothing but vice in the whole place. He was referring to Tangier, but he should have been referring to Midas's city, the city of the obscenely wealthy, those who inherited all of their wealth. If people place such things as friendship and family ties above their own productive work, yes, then they are immoral. Friendship, family life and human relationships are not primary in a man's life. A man who places others first, above his own creative work, is an emotional parasite, whereas, if he places his work first, there is no conflict between his work and his enjoyment of human relationships. Ayn Rand. Inheritance which involves placing your family ties above everything else is entirely contrary to Ayn Rand's right-wing philosophy. Anyone who supports inheritance is repudiating Ayn Rand, the queen of the right-wing libertarians. All libertarians, if they accept Ayn Rand, must oppose inheritance, hence support 100% inheritance tax. It is preoccupation with possessions, more than anything else, that prevents us from living freely and nobly. Bertrand Russell. How can the famous statement, all men are created equal, be compatible with inheritance, that is with a few inheriting the wealth of Midas, while most inherit little or nothing? Anyone who supports inheritance is opposed to the American Declaration of Independence, and the American Constitution. The Supreme Court ought to declare inheritance illegal. Inheritance is incompatible with democracy and meritocracy. It contradicts the notion of equal citizens with equal rights and equal opportunities. No one can be surprised by the hypocrisy of the American ruling elite, given that they continued the slave trade in total repudiation of the Declaration of Independence and Constitution. Inheritance is simply a more subtle form of slavery. All those who inherit peanuts are the slaves of those who inherit vast fortunes. Slavery has no place in the world, and that means inheritance has no place. There can be no privileged families, lording it over everyone else. There can be no hereditary elites, no dynastic ruling families. Just as inheritance is a disguised version of slavery, the non-heirs are the slaves of the heirs, so it's a disguised version of monarchy. The heirs are the princes and kings who rule over their impoverished and abject subjects. Inheritance is wholly incompatible with a fair, just, rational society. Anyone who supports inheritance is guilty of high crimes against the people. They might as well adopt the Confederate flag as their banner. Rich people love their dogs. They don't love you. Their dogs are part of their family. You're not. They treat their dogs infinitely better than they would ever treat you. They hate you. What are you going to do about it? Be their poodles and hope they tickle your tummy and feed you some treats. Kneel. Loki, to crowd. Kneel before me, I said. Kneel. Is not this simpler? Is this not your natural state? It's the unspoken truth of humanity that you crave subjugation. The bright lure of freedom diminishes your life's joy in a mad scramble for power, for identity. You were made to be ruled. In the end, you'll always kneel. From the Avengers. The debate. We get people who want to have a debate with us, and ask us questions, even though they admit they haven't read our books. So, what shall we debate? Their laziness, their ignorance of our work, their obvious contempt for our work. Imagine writing to Stephen Hawking for a debate without knowing anything at all about his work. Do you think he would give you the time of day? So, what makes you think we would? Old thinkers. We don't want old thinkers coming to our work. They won't understand it. Dinosaurs never do. We want young minds that haven't yet been corrupted, or those rare and wondrous older people who have retained young, nimble, flexible, open minds. Such people are the wise heads that should be advising the world. Make it count. Are you one of life's bystanders? Are you watching the parade as it goes by? You have to make a difference in life. You must count for something. You must be part of foreground, not dissolving into the background. The B-movie. Are you in a B-movie? Are you in a pantomime? Is this world a circus? Are you in a cosmic nut house? Is this a planetary prison? Are you in hell on earth? Welcome to the world. On your ass. Sitting around on your ass meditating won't enlighten you. Going with the flow won't enlighten you. Finding your own truth won't enlighten you. Relativism won't enlighten you. Nihilism won't enlighten you. Skepticism won't enlighten you. Cynicism won't enlighten you. Scientific materialism won't enlighten you. Organized religion won't enlighten you. Only the light of reason will enlighten you. There is no other way. Adobe Flash Player or an HTML5 supported browser is required for video playback. Get the latest Flash Player. Learn more about upgrading to an HTML5 browser. Human sacrifice. Kierkegaard imagines the case of a man who, after hearing a preacher extolling Abraham's example, is so inspired that he returns home planning to kill his son, just as Abraham was willing to do. If this man went through with it, he would of course be executed or sent to a madhouse. Everyone would be horrified. Yet exactly the same people who would be disgusted by a child murderer are themselves Abrahamists who celebrate the example of a man willing to slaughter his own son and thus be a child murderer himself. Savior Machine. President Joe once had a dream. The world held his hand, gave their pledge, so he told them his scheme for a savior machine. They called it the prayer. Its answer was law. Its logic stopped war, gave them food. How they adored till it cried in its boredom. Please don't believe in me. Please disagree with me. Life is too easy. A plague seems quite feasible now, or maybe a war, or I may kill you all. Don't let me stay. Don't let me stay. My logic says burn, so send me away. Your minds are too green. I despise all I've seen. You can't stake your lives on a savior machine. I need you flying, and I'll show that dying is living beyond reason. Sacred dimension of time. I perceive every sign. I can steal every mind. Don't let me stay. Don't let me stay. My logic says burn, so send me away. Your minds are too green. I despise all I've seen. You can't stake your lives on a savior machine. Writers: David Bowie. Copyright: Tintoretto Music, Nibble Music, Chrysalis Music Limited. Aristotle. A tyrant must put on the appearance of uncommon devotion to religion. Subjects are less apprehensive of illegal treatment from a ruler whom they consider God-fearing and pious. On the other hand, they do less easily move against him, believing that he has the gods on his side. Aristotle. In America, an atheist could never be president. Listen to Hillary Clinton. At the risk of appearing predictable, the Bible was and remains the biggest influence on my thinking. I was raised reading it, memorizing passages from it and being guided by it. I still find it a source of wisdom, comfort and encouragement. This woman will lie through her teeth to get elected. She knows exactly what the moronic masses want to hear. All human actions have one or more of these 7 causes: chance, nature, compulsion, habit, reason, passion, and desire. Aristotle. Reason, in most human beings, is the rarest cause. All men by nature desire knowledge. Aristotle. But not true knowledge, only knowledge that makes them feel good about themselves. All paid jobs absorb and degrade the mind. Aristotle. Capitalism degrades the mind. It's about dumbing down, the lowest common denominator, and the race to the bottom. All persons ought to endeavor to follow what is right, and not what is established. Aristotle. It's time to abandon all established religions once and for all, and to revalue all values through the prism of mathematics. Unacceptable. It's simply unacceptable in the 21st century for people to invoke ancient prophets and gurus. Although we proclaim Pythagoras to be a monumental genius, the fact remains that humanity has mathematical tools available now that he could only have dreamt of. The past geniuses have brought us where we are today, but where we are today is far more advanced than anything that has ever gone before. You are anti-evolutionary retarded if you turn to any ancient religious beliefs and regard them as better, wiser and more useful than mathematics, science and philosophy. That includes all people who look to Buddhism and Hinduism. Ontological mathematics has made all religions redundant. It has transformed religion from mythos into logos. Reason is now the name of the game, not prayer, faith, meditation, revelation and mysticism. There is no longer any excuse at all for holding silly, irrational beliefs. Ontological mathematics has bridged the gap between atheistic scientific materialism on the one hand, and religion and spirituality on the other. Math explains the whole thing, rationally. This is the age of logos. Get off your knees, uncross your legs, Stop praying and meditating and start thinking and reasoning. You are supremely unenlightened if you look to ancient beliefs that were in circulation thousands of years before Europe underwent the Enlightenment, when the grip of Christianity at last started to be released. Why abandon the nonsense of Abrahamism, only to embrace the equal nonsense of Karmism? Math. Math is reality. Get over it. Everything you experience is information carried by mathematics. Live with it. Anyone who opposes mathematics is ipso facto irrational and demented. There's no excuse for rejecting mathematics. If you look to anything other than math for your answers, it's the surest proof that you have failed the exam of life. Math is the subject that is quintessentially about providing exact answers, and existence is itself exactly answered mathematically. Mindfulness. A book on mindfulness contains no science, no mathematics, no ontology and no epistemology. What it does contain is an enormous amount of speculative spirituality, emotionalism, New Age babble, mysticism, mythos and nonsense. None of this is knowledge. In fact, it's anti-knowledge, yet the cretinous masses lap it up and really believe they are learning something about reality. They might as well read Lord of the Rings. It contains as many truths about the human condition as any New Age book. The average human being is completely unable to distinguish between mythos and logos. Here's a crash course. Mythos concerns words and is conveyed by man-made languages, and logos concerns numbers and is conveyed by ontological mathematics. People love words and hate numbers, and that's exactly why humanity is fucked and believes the most astounding idiocy imaginable. No excuse. If you believe in Hinduism or Buddhism, don't kid yourself that you're vastly superior to, and more rational than, Abrahamists. You're as hostile to reason, logic and knowledge as they are, and every bit as mired in superstition, credulousness, faith, mysticism, revelation and mythos. Given the nihilism of atheistic scientific materialism, people had an excuse for looking to something to provide them with spiritual sustenance, but that excuse no longer exists. Illuminism and ontological mathematics allow scientific materialism and empiricism, which is incompatible with religion and spirituality, to be converted into scientific idealism and rationalism, which is fully compatible with religion and spirituality, and fully explains the eternal, dimensionless, immaterial, mental reality that underlies the observable world and gives it its meaning and purpose. With scientific idealism and rationalism, mind, not matter, becomes the basis of reality. All material things are transformed into mental things, and atheism becomes an absurd superstition wholly divorced from the facts of existence. It's math, which lies at the core of science, that destroys materialism, since mathematics is not material. Either or. You either keep on believing ancient old shit, or you wake up and try to understand the staggering amount of knowledge humanity has amassed in the last 400 years. Anyone who spends any time at all on any mythos religious system whatsoever has turned their back on human progress, and effectively declared useless all modern knowledge. Why are you going backwards rather than forwards, to unreason rather than reason? Why are you going back to ignorance and superstition? The answer is simple. You don't understand modern knowledge, whereas you're perfectly happy with ancient mumbo-jumbo and hocus-pocus. You're addicted to fantasy and delusion and despise reason and reality. Why would anyone seeking to be enlightened study Buddhism or Hinduism rather than Gödel's incompleteness theorems? Because Gödel's incompleteness theorems are fucking hard, whereas any dumbass can get some kind of hold on Buddhism or Hinduism. Talk about dumbing down and the race to the bottom. What's the average IQ of the kind of person who studies Gödel's incompleteness theorems compared with the average IQ of the type of person who gets involved with Abrahamism or Karmism? That tells you the whole story. Stupid people study stupid things, and smart people study smart things. Scientific materialism. Even science has serious difficulties. Science can be regarded as mathematics allied to and modified by experiments. Mathematics reflects rationalism, while experiments reflect empiricism. Rationalism and empiricism are incommensurate. Science is thus the philosophy of empiricism and materialism, imposed on rationalist mathematics, which has nothing at all to do with experiments. Science refuses to address this contradiction. It's driven by pragmatism, not truth. Science seeks to understand the world, and yet, bizarrely, can't understand itself, and makes no attempt to do so. But science, for all of its lack of intellectual integrity, has applied mathematics to the world and been fantastically successful. Remove math from science and you would have nothing but augury. Why have so few failed to realize that it's when you apply numbers, math, that you get to grips with reality, and when you use words, emotions, faith, mysticism, and so on, you get all the crazy religions and ideas that have defaced human history. The truth? Words and numbers are incommensurate. Reality is based on either words or numbers. It can't be a bit based on words, and a bit based on numbers, since numbers and words, like Cartesian mind and matter, have no basis for interaction. You have a very simple choice to make. Will you attempt to understand reality verbally, numerically, or via an incoherent combination of the two? There can only be one answer to existence, and if you choose the wrong means to address reality, you have failed automatically. So, we ask you a very simple question. Was Pythagoras right that all things are numbers, or will you contradict him and claim that all things are words? Your choice. Make the wrong choice and you have cut yourself off from truth and are living in a fantasy world. Conventional religion and spirituality are all about emotional and mystical words. Philosophy is about the careful examination of the meaning of words and what they imply about reality. Science is a mixture of philosophy and numbers, and math is all about numbers. There can be no Cartesian dualism or pluralism. You can't mix, match and combine incommensurates. There must be a monism, and the only coherent monism is the monism of numbers. Scientific experiments are an artificial add-on to mathematics. They have the effect of force-fitting mathematics to the observable world and thus producing something that seems real to the senses. However, they also have the disastrous effect of annihilating all mathematics that is not compatible with sensory observations. The whole point of ontological mathematics is to address both observable and unobservable reality, and to unify them in a single system. Dimensionless mathematics concerns immaterial Fourier frequency, mental functions outside space and time, while dimensional mathematics concerns Fourier space-time, material functions. The two interact via Fourier mathematics, and thus the whole of reality is explained. It's all in the math. Do the math. The exam. You're in an exam, the exam of existence. Do you know how to pass it? To whom will you turn for advice? This is the strangest exam of all. You are presented with a blank sheet, and you yourself must provide both the questions and the answers. How well you do this will determine whether you pass or fail. Most people ask the wrong questions and give the wrong answers. Know thyself. Keep it real. Get real. This is the dawn of the coming race, the supermen, the hyperhumans. We are the Illuminati.